to the Candid Sister podcast, where faith and business meet with clarity. For women called to lead with wisdom, order, and grace, healing what's hidden, building what lasts. This is your space for real conversations, strong leadership, and sustainable growth with your host, Conchata L. Hosley.
Hey sis, welcome back to the Candid Sister podcast. In my last episode, I shared that this podcast is not starting over, it is maturing. And today, I want to go one step deeper into that truth because this next part is where the real shift begins. What I'm about to say may sound simple at first, but it changed the way I understand leadership, business, and even my own journey as a founder. What my healing revealed to me is that my personal life and my business life were never as separate as I thought they were. For a long time, I believed I was carrying emotional pain in one area while trying to run a business in another. I thought I was managing personal healing over here and business responsibility over there. But with time, maturity, and greater discernment, I came to understand that those two journeys were not separate at all. My emotional healing directly affected my business's operational healing. That realization changed everything for me. I think many women in business do not recognize this at first, especially women who are strong, responsible, faith driven, and committed. We know how to keep moving, we know how to continue showing up, we know how to carry weight and still look functional while carrying it. And because of that, it becomes very easy to believe that as long as the business is still moving, the internal strain is somehow contained. But that is not always true. Sometimes what you are carrying internally is already affecting how you lead, how you decide, how you respond to pressure, how you manage people, how you build systems, and how you sustain growth. Sometimes the business is functioning, but it's functioning through the strain of the leader rather than through the health of the structure. And that is a very, very different conversation. For me, healing was not just about becoming emotionally whole as a woman. It was also about becoming more honest as a leader. It was about seeing how exhaustion, grief, pressure, disappointment, and internal wear can quickly distort the way a company is carried. When a leader is depleted, that depletion does not always announce itself dramatically. It can show up subtly. It can show up in delayed decisions. It can show up in overthinking. It can show up in hesitation, inconsistencies, unnecessary urgency, weak boundaries, overextension, or even in the inability to build the kind of order that growth now requires. And because many founders are so used to carrying, they may not even realize that what they are calling a business issue is already connected to something much deeper. That is one of the reasons this conversation matters so much to me. This is not simply about whether a woman has good habits or better routines. This is about leadership condition. It is about what happens when the internal world of the founder begins shaping the visible world of the business. It is about what happens when unprocessed strain becomes operational reality. It is about what happens when the company starts reflecting the weight the leader has been silently holding. And I believe more women are experiencing that than we often admit out loud. In my research, there was some data that reinforces that this is not a private or isolated issue. I was reading up on Startup Snapshot reports, a data research company, that 72% of founders say their mental health has been affected, with 44% reporting high stress, 37% anxiety, and 36% burnout. Now, none of this surprised me. because I was in that statistics. Those were my numbers. And yes, it confirms something many leaders already know in silence. Founders often carry far more than the market sees. And even beyond founder specific studies, Gallup has reported sustained higher burnt out among women in leadership, which tells us that this burden is not theoretical, they're measuring it, and it is an issue. So when I say that my healing affected my business, I'm not trying to make business emotional in a shallow way. I am saying that leadership is lived through a real human being. The business does not get led by a detached machine. As much as we would like to say that through a lot of the AI concepts that we have here. But understand, even AI is led by a person with a body, a mind, a history, a nervous system, responsibilities, disappointments, faith, pressure, and capacity limits. And when those realities are ignored, the business often ends up carrying the consequences. That is why I now see healing differently. Healing is not separate from business maturity. In many cases, it is part of business maturity. Healing can sharpen discernment, it can improve decision making, it can restore boundaries, it can expose where pressure has been mistaken for purpose. It can help a founder stop building from survival mode and start building from clarity. It can reveal what was being overcompensated for, what was never truly sustainable, and what parts of the business were being held together by emotional labor rather than structural order. Now, this is a hard truth, but it is also freeing one too. Because once you understand that internal healing and operational healing are connected, you stop blaming yourself in shallow ways. You start reducing everything to discipline problems, productivity hacks, or time management. You begin asking better questions. You begin asking whether the business is reflecting peace or pressure. You begin asking whether the system has or are supporting your leadership or depending on your depletion. You begin asking whether what looks like a workflow issue is actually a deeper issue of clarity, capacity, grief, fear, fatigue, or even over responsibility. That is a more honest level of leadership, and honest leadership is where real recalibration begins. This is also where the language of Phoenix becomes important. The company's direction is not rooted in the idea that women simply need more motivation or more hustle. It is rooted in the recognition that many leaders are carrying internal and operational fractures at the same time, and those fractures affect sustainability, peace, and decision making. That is why the strategy for this season positioned the show around operational healing, founder capacity, governance, and the deeper realities affecting leadership. What I live personally gave me a lens to see something that is happening more broadly in the marketplace. And that is what I want this podcast to become for you. Not just a place where I tell my story, not just a place where you feel encouraged for a moment, but a place where you begin to understand your own business more truthfully, and a place where you can start naming what has been silently shaping your leadership, a place where you begin to realize that not every operational issue is purely structural, and not every personal burden stays personal when you're the one governing the company. If I could leave you with one truth in this episode, it would be this: your internal life and your leadership life are not as disconnected as you may think. And if that is true, then healing is not a sign of journey, not a side journey. Let me say that one more time. If that is true, then healing is not a side journey. It may be one of the most strategic things that happens in your business. So, I want to leave you with a few reflection questions. One, where in your business are you seeing reoccurring issues that may be connected to deeper internal strain? Two, where have you been trying to solve visible problems without naming what has been happening underneath your leadership? And three, Where might your business be carrying symptoms of exhaustion, grief, pressure, or overextension that you have not yet fully acknowledged? And I truly want you to take a journal, some sheet of paper, whatever it is, and sit in a quiet place and honestly ask yourself these questions and take your time with it. Because the goal is not self criticism, the goal is clarity. And clarity is one of the first gifts healing can give a leader. If this episode stirred something in you, don't rush past that. Don't try to fix everything tonight. Don't turn this into pressure. Let it become clarity. Because sometimes the first sign of healing in leadership is not action. Sometimes it is honesty. Sometimes it's finally being able or willing to name what has been shaping your decisions, your capacity, your business, and even your peace. And that kind of honesty is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is leadership maturity. And for many women, it is the beginning of real operational healing. In the next episode, I want to help you take this one step further because sometimes what we call a business problem is not actually the real problem at all. Sometimes it is only the visible symptoms of something deeper that has gone unrecognized. And if we misdiagnose it, we will keep trying to fix the wrong thing. So, in our next conversation, we're going to talk about what happens when business problems are not really business problems. Until then, stay grounded, stay honest, and stay open to what your leadership may be revealing. And as always, stay fearless, stay focused, stay fabulous, and see you in the next episode.
You've been listening to the Candid Sister Podcast. A space for faith-driven women in business to grow with clarity, order, and peace. Until next time, keep building what lasts and lead with wisdom.